And now on the line from Galway is Gearóid O'Dowd, and Gearóid is the Secretary of the Party for Animal Welfare. Gearóid, welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much, Darren, and thanks very much for having me on indeed.
Okay, cool. Gearóid, could you start off please by telling me a bit about your background and how you came to be involved with the Party for Animal Welfare?
Well, I suppose I've always been an animal lover. You know, we've had animals in my house, all my life, cats and dogs and music. And it was a small farm as well, you know, so I had contact with animals. I had my own dogs. My father actually trained Irish setters and he bred them, you know.
Okay.
And so then I began volunteering for Madra dog rescue in Galway. You know, I did that for a while. And then I heard about the Party for Animal Welfare, so I was one of the early members, you know.
All right.
That was in 2019, the party was founded.
Okay, could you tell me a bit more about the history of the Party for Animal Welfare?
Yeah, as I say, Darren, the party was founded in 2019. It came about simply by people, like-minded people, animal lovers, who saw the need to give animals a voice in politics. And we're now actually part of a worldwide movement. There's 21 parties for animals worldwide. And I mean, they've been very successful in some of the countries. I mean, the Dutch party has 5 MPs, the Portuguese have 4 MPs, Australia have 3 MPs, and there's actually 2 MEPs. There's one from the Dutch Party for the Animals they're called, and the Portuguese Party, who are called P.A.W, also have an MEP in Europe. So we kind of came in at the back of that, you know, we were one of the last parties to be formed. But we're getting there, you know.
Okay, have you ever stood in elections in Ireland?
We haven't so far. We were too late in registering for the general election. But we're absolutely ready to go on the local elections in 2024. We're in the process of picking candidates, and we intend to run in quite a few wards. We're not quite sure yet how many, but that would be our first outing.
Okay, you probably get this question a lot in interviews, but are you a vegan party?
Not. I mean, you don't have to be a vegan to join us, but I would say probably 90% of our members are vegans, including myself and all our executives, you know. Oh. But we don't like to push people too much. We find that people it's more of a turn off, you know, if you try and push the vegan attitude down people's throats too much, you know. So we rather let them judge for themselves and see by what's going on in agriculture and the crude practices that go on, and let them make their own minds up, you know, and rather than push it all the time, you know.
Yeah, I was looking at your website. You don't seem to have anything about veganism on your website, so I was just kind of wondering.
Yeah, our Facebook page is probably more of an indication of what we're about. Our website is actually in the process of being revamped at the moment.
Okay.
So our main Facebook page is Party 4. That's the number 4. Party for Animal Welfare. And that is much more up to date on what we're about and what we do, our protests, etc., you know.
Okay, Gearóid, what are the main animal welfare issues that you believe need to be focused on in Ireland?
Well, I think, Darren, the first thing is the general issues of cruelty that go on in this country. You know, very few people realise that there is an actual penalty of 5 years in prison for animal cruelty in this country, yet it's never been handed down. The most anybody has got for animal abuse in this country is 3 years, and that was certainly an exception. So on paper, everything looks good. Ireland has a 5-year jail penalty for animal abuse. Isn't that very progressive? But if you, as usual in this country and with the government, everything looks good on paper, but the actual practice is a different thing. Like we would push for a separate department of animal protection entirely. At the moment, animal welfare comes under the Department of Agriculture, which is there's a total conflict of interest there. Their prime agenda is to push agriculture, So we would be looking for a separate department of animal protection, and the judiciary certainly needs to be taken to task and to hand down more serious penalties for animal abusers. Time after time you'll see cases in the paper of somebody getting a slap in the wrist, a suspended sentence, community service at most, and that's it.
And you used to be in favour of an animal crimes register, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yes. We would certainly be in favour of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did an interview with Bernie Wright several years ago about that. I don't know.
Oh, right, yeah.
Do you know Bernie?
I do know Bernie, yes. I do, of course, know Bernie, yeah. We go to a lot of demonstrations together, And, we cooperate on lots of things. For example, like fox hunting. The Red Sea poll found that 77% of Irish people want fox hunting banned. Yet, it's, many TDs engage in fox hunting. A lot of the judiciary are avid fox hunters, And yet 77% of people want it banned, It's outdated, it's ridiculously cruel, And, the wildlife belongs to all of us, not for hunters, to just go out there and tear them apart,
Yeah, I only read recently that the former Fine Gael TD Taoiseach from the 70s, I think his name is Cosgrave, Liam Cosgrave. I believe that he was a fox hunter, was he?
Oh yeah. You'd be surprised at how many TDs that are in the law at the moment, if they're not actually engaged in fox hunting, they're certainly engaged in protecting it.
Can you give me the name? Can you give me the name of some TDs and senators who actually personally engage in fox hunting?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't really, because a lot of them go under the under the radar. They wouldn't exactly be advertising the fact that they do that. Like what we've been doing this year is we've been protesting outside the hotels that host the hunt balls, And you'd be surprised if you see going in and out, the businessmen, the pillars of the local community, So we managed to get 2 hotels to cancel their hunt balls this year, And we'll be doing the same again next year.
That's good. And you are in favour of banning horse and greyhound racing as well, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Greyhound racing is another total scandal, this year, for example, 33 dogs have been killed so far on the track this year in this country. 90 have been injured. That's just on the track. There's no numbers put on the amount of dogs that are actually killed or being too slow and killed in horrific ways. They're exported to China where they end up as dog meat, It's a total scandal. The people involved in that in that so-called sport, it's so... They're savage people,
And the whole...
to get a greyhound to chase one of these mechanical hares, they have to be blooded first. And that involves throwing an animal into them, starving them first for a few days, then throwing in a kitten. In some cases, a piglet has been used. Just throwing a live piglet or a kitten or a puppy dog into them. So that, and they're so hungry they will rip it apart, you know. That's how they blood them. That's how they give them the instinct to chase a hare. Coursing is another one. I mean, coursing is damn barrack as well. The Irish hare is supposed to be a protected species, you know. And yet they're allowed to go out and capture these hares, keep them in pens for up to a week. Hares are solitary animals, you know. They don't live in packs. Keep them in a cage for a week and then let them out. They say, oh, well, we got muzzles on the dogs. That doesn't stop the hare having a heart attack, breaking his legs. Sometimes the dogs are injured. So we live in a very cruel country, you know. There's no doubt about it, you know.
You're talking.
I mean, I'm sure. Have you seen the documentary Running for Their Lives, the RTE documentary?
No, I heard about it. I didn't want to watch it because it sounds very depressing. I was afraid to watch it, you know. Yeah,
well, this is it. This is people. Sometimes you have to. I mean, sometimes we put stuff up on our Facebook pages, and people say, "Oh, I wish you wouldn't show that." But you have to, you know. That's the only way you can make people realise what is going on, you know. And I mean, the connection between animal cruelty and human murder and psychopaths is a very thin line, you know. Most of the serial murderers started off abusing animals as children. You know.
You're talking there about greyhound racing, and you're against horse racing as well, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah, totally, yeah. That's a harder nut to crack, you know. That will be a serious battle, and it's probably somewhere down the line, you know. Because it's such a popular so-called sport, you know. I mean, there's well over 100 horses have been killed on Irish racetracks this year so far, you know.
I believe
in Galway meeting in 21, 4 horses died in one race.
God.
I mean, if that was any other sport, I mean, you know, 4 horses in one race in September in 21 in Galway. And yet people will flock to go here next month, and rather this month now, almost. And it's all fun, and it'll be all over the papers, and all the ladies dressed up in their finery, and you know, go up next to the rails and see and watch as they pass, and see what a lovely sport it is, and you'll see them whipping the horses and shouting and roaring. And the horses foaming at the mouth.
So you are kind of focusing. It's not just your party, but other animal rights organisations in Ireland. Am I right in saying they're kind of focusing on greyhound racing now, and you're not focusing really on horse racing?
We post stuff about horse racing, you know. We intend to start protesting outside the horse race meetings, some of the smaller ones for a start, you know, to see how that goes. But we prefer, you know, to concentrate for the moment, you know, to pick off these things one by one if we can, you know. You know, greyhound racing would be the number one target, fox hunting. Certainly, we were not ignoring horse racing, but we realised that we were going to have a hard task on our hands. Possibly ban the use of the whip if we could get that done for a start, you know.
Greyhound racing has become a lot more unpopular over the last couple of decades, hasn't it, around the world?
It has, yeah. People, the attendances have plummeted. Now, you see, the thing is, greyhound racing would be finished long ago if the government didn't pump money into it. They pumped almost 17 million into it last year, like £17 million. Or euros, sorry. Between greyhound racing and horse racing, the government gave 80 million euros last year. Now, whatever about the horse racing, they don't need that money, you know. Most of these owners and trainers are rich beyond any kind of imagination, you know. And yet they pump all this money into it because the excuse is it's a tourist attraction. Well, greyhound racing certainly isn't a tourist attraction. And as I say, it would be dead long ago if they were. This is what's keeping them alive. because the rural TDs that are afraid of losing votes if they don't back the funding for greyhound racing. Some of them, of course, engaged in greyhound racing as well.
My dad asked me before my interview with you today just to ask you something. Is there is there legislation in Ireland, like if you if somebody robs an animal like a dog, that happened a lot during the COVID pandemic. Like, is there a specific are they committing a crime? Like, can they go to prison for it? Or what's the story?
You're committing the crime of theft. A dog is, by law, regarded as a possession. Same as your car or same as your television. They're not recognised as, sentient beings in law.
Okay.
They're recognised as property. So the only thing you can be done for is property theft. And the only way it can be dealt with is theft. So there again, they're if they are caught, which very few of them were, all they got was a slap on the wrist, That has died down now a little bit because, of course, COVID is over now, and the big fad of getting a dog, while you were at home not working is the rescues are full again now of unwanted cats and dogs, since COVID finished. And this is it, there's no need for people to be buying dogs or, of puppy farmers. The rescues are full with beautiful dogs,
That's a huge issue as well, isn't it? Puppy farms.
Oh, yes, yeah. The person that got the 3 years prison was a puppy farmer, I mean, these people are just the cruelest of cruel, The conditions that are kept in these dogs, it's absolutely out of this world,
I did an interview a few years ago with the CEO of Dogs Trust. Thought they had a campaign about puppy farms,
Yeah. It's an absolute scandal, absolute scandal.
Okay, Gearóid, to come towards the end of our interview, could you tell me any more if you have any plans for the Party for Animal Welfare over the medium to long term in Ireland?
As I said, we're getting ready for the elections, really, and we always welcome new members to the party. At the moment, we're doing a lot of protesting against animal testing. We've held several protests outside Trinity College. Animal testing is extremely cruel, and there are alternatives out there, It's unreliable. It's been proven over 90% of the tests done on animals do not transfer over to a human cure. Instead of phasing out animal testing, our universities are actually increasing their use of animals. And yes, there are methods like human cells and tissues can be used for testing. Advanced computer modelling is used in a lot of the more modern seats of learning now throughout the world, Yet our universities are using not less animals, more animals, the figures go up every year. So, that's another scandal. So we've got our hands full, and I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But we won't be deterred. We're going to keep struggling until we get some voice in politics for the animals. Certainly, we'll start off at the council level, we hope, and work from there. That's how we.
Yeah, we have local and European elections in 2024, and if the current government does their full term, we'd have a general election in 2025.
Exactly, yeah. So we will definitely be putting our best foot forward for 24 anyway, and we'll see how that goes. We're not expecting miracles as a first-time out party. It's going to be a long struggle, but that's what we're here for. And we would certainly like more young people to get involved as well. We find it's hard to get young people involved in politics. You know, politics has such a bad name, you know, for young people, you know. So that is a struggle. You know, I mean, they are very conscious of animal cruelty and veganism and, you know, all the good things about us and climate change and everything. But they're very slow to actually join a political party and get involved and work, you know, towards the goals, you know, that they would like to see.
If you got one person elected at all, even if they started off as a councillor first, like I think it would make a huge difference. Do you think so?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There are. No, don't get me wrong. There are good people in there, you know, that speak up for animals. You know, people before Papas do a lot, and they actually have a course or an anti-greyhound bill coming up soon now in the door, or anti-coursing, sorry, and. So we're hoping that gets somewhere. And Paul Murphy is bringing that forward. And the Social Democrats have done a lot of good work as well, you know. But as regards the other parties, I'm afraid, very, very, very disappointing, you know. I mean, Sinn Féin actually, fox hunting would be now banned in the north. Only for Sinn Féin voted against a motion by an Alliance Party member, John Blair. They actually voted against it. Even if they had abstained, it would have carried. You know? Yes, Mary Lou MacDonald is on record as saying that at the first opportunity, they would bring in a bill to ban fox hunting in the Dáil down here. That's over 2 years ago, you know? So a lot of people will say what they want at election time, you know? I mean, the Greens have totally let down animal lovers in this country. I've yet to meet an animal advocate that is happy with what the Greens are doing in government, you know. They promised the sun, moon and stars before the last general election to animal lovers, you know, and have let them down at every twist and turn.